Believers, we need to understand that we are in the world but not of the world. That means that the world has its way of dealing with challenges and issues, and we do things God's way. The world does not have the resurrection power of Christ, so the world has no victory. So the only thing they can do is learn to cope with difficulty. And the way people deal with difficulty in the world, the way they cope with it is by restricting each other and undermining each other. That's where the whole concept of privacy and boundaries come from. People want to control and undermine their environment so that they are relieved from being challenged. That's what it's all about. When you want control, you don't want to be challenged. And that's the thing with worldlings. They don't want to be challenged and they demand a sacred space where they have the right to undermine and control. That's what they call private lives. But that space does not exist. They know it deep down inside, but they all pretend that it exists. And they all pretend they have the right to violate other people just to protect this non existent space. That's how worldlings cope with difficulties. That's how they cope with challenges. We as believers, we should not follow their paths because their paths are crooked. Their paths leads to self-destruction. So believers should not even speak about enforcing boundaries and all of that. We overcome difficulty. We don't restrict others just to be at ease. We don't seek to undermine others by enforcing our limitations onto the environment. Because just think about it. The whole concept of boundaries is narcissistic. It's all about you wanting to control the behavior of others to relieve yourself. It sounds very good when people say you need to enforce boundaries to prevent bad stuff from happening, but the thing is, boundaries are all about you, all about what you want on your terms. It's all about you enforcing your terms so that you are at ease. So you don't want your terms to be challenged. That's what it's all about. So other people are only allowed to exist around you if they bow down to your terms. That is what you are stating when you're talking about enforcing boundaries. It's all about you binding other people to your expectations. Nowhere in Scripture did God permit us to bind other people with our expectations, especially not expectations that don't add up. The whole idea of boundaries has to do with idea that you are a sovereign entity, and you're not because you're not the Most High. Only the Most High is sovereign. Only He is. So the idea that you can bind other people with your expectations because you want to, I'm sorry, but that doesn't work. And if those other people are also sovereign entities, how are you going to do it? So this whole idea of boundaries is a self-contradiction and is a concept worldlings use to justify their controlling of other people. Believers, I'm telling you, we need to stop adhering to the paths of the wicked. The world only has the paths of the wicked to follow. Because they don't follow Christ, so they follow evildoers. Because those that lead them are evildoers. We as believers should not follow the paths of the wicked. Because anytime you follow the paths of the wicked, you encounter their destruction. And even if you're born again and you're forever free from the lake of fire, during this lifetime you can still suffer unnecessary ruin and you can still enable unnecessary danger if you follow the paths of the wicked. Believers, what we do is we avoid people that are dangerous and we shake off people that seek to draw us in their misery. And when needed, we walk away and we withdraw ourselves from relationships. That is what we do. We don't go out there, let me say, blackmailing people that if they don't submit to our terms, that they don't exist to us. That's what the world is teaching you. If people don't submit to your terms, they don't exist to you. That's what enforcing boundaries is all about. God never told us to do that. Because by doing that, you're binding yourself. Forget about other people for a moment. When you do the thing the world is telling you to do, enforcing boundaries, you are binding yourself. So you're keeping yourself in bondage. And who benefits from you being in bondage? Demons do. So When you listen to those self-help gurus of the world, you are learning the ways of the wicked. Why? Because it's demons instructing those people to teach you. Because those self-help gurus who don't follow Christ. So where do they get their inspiration from? It comes from the demonic realm. And too many believers are following teachings of devils. This whole idea of enforcing boundaries is a teaching of devils. As believers, we have far more effective ways to deal with discomfort and challenges in life than to bind other people with our restrictions. We shouldn't even have those restrictions to begin with. So, believers, examine whose ways you're following. Are you following the ways of Christ or are you following the ways of the wicked? Be at peace.